There is a particular kind of year that does not begin with noise. It does not begin with disaster, and it does not begin with celebration. Instead, it begins with a quiet feeling many people struggle to explain. You wake up in the morning and nothing is wrong. Your home is the same. Your routine is the same. The people around you are the same. Yet something inside you feels slightly unsettled, not anxious, not afraid, but aware. Almost as if you are waiting for news that has not yet arrived. Many people will experience this as 2026 approaches. You may notice you are thinking more than usual, not worrying about tomorrow, but reflecting about years ago. A person you have not spoken to in decades enters your mind for no reason. A place you once lived suddenly feels important again. You remember conversations word for word, even though you had forgotten them for a long time. At first, you may blame boredom, then stress, then perhaps age. But what makes this feeling unusual is that it appears to many people at the same time, even those living in different cities, different countries, and very different lives. I once spoke with a retired teacher who said she began organizing old letters she had not touched since the 1990s. She did not plan to. She simply woke one night and felt she had to read them. Another man said he drove 30 minutes just to see a neighborhood he moved away from 40 years ago. He did not know why he went. He only knew he felt calmer after. Nothing dramatic happened in either case. Yet both people described the same sensation. They were not reacting to an event. They were reacting to a feeling that something in life was preparing to shift. In traditional Eastern astrology, the elders observed this long before modern psychology tried to explain it. They noticed that certain years did not bring immediate change. Instead, they brought awareness before change. They called these years signal years. A signal year is not the year when the door opens. It is the year when you hear someone gently knock. If you are distracted, you ignore it. If you are attentive, you realize something important is approaching. The year 2026 is one of these years. You may not lose anything in 2026. You may not gain anything obvious either. But you may feel compelled to reconsider decisions you thought were settled. You may question routines you have followed for years without thinking. You may feel a quiet urge to prepare, even though you cannot explain what you are preparing for. This is why some people will begin simplifying their lives. They clean spaces they once ignored. They reach out to people they once avoided. They forgive things they carried for years, not because something forced them to, but because suddenly it feels necessary. The feeling is gentle but persistent. You cannot easily dismiss it, and you cannot clearly explain it to others. If you try, you might say, "I just feel like something is coming." And the interesting part is this: not everyone will notice. Two people may live in the same house. One feels nothing unusual. The other feels a quiet pull toward reflection and change. Neither is wrong. They are simply standing in different positions along the same path. Ancient scholars believed life moves in cycles larger than our personal plans. Sometimes life changes suddenly, and everyone sees it. Other times, life sends a signal first, but only certain people recognize it early. Tonight, I will tell you which zodiac signs tend to notice this signal before others, and why they feel it when most people do not. Because the important thing about 2026 is not only what will happen. The important thing is who senses it early enough to prepare. When you recognize a signal year, you are not predicting the future. You are aligning yourself with timing, and timing, more than effort, often determines whether change feels gentle or forced. So if you have already begun to feel a quiet awareness, a subtle preparation without a visible reason, you may not be imagining it. You may simply be hearing the knock before the door opens. To understand why this feeling appears in 2026, we must look beyond personality traits and look at timing. In traditional calendars, years are not only counted by numbers, they are counted by cycles of energy. Each year combines an animal and an element, and together they create a pattern of human behavior that repeats across generations. The year 2026 is known as the Year of the Fire Horse. Most people recognize the animal first. The horse has always represented movement. In older times, the horse carried people between towns, delivered news, and marked the beginning of journeys. A horse year, therefore, rarely supports long stillness. Even people who prefer routine begin to think about new directions, new locations, or new decisions. But the more important part of 2026 is the element. The element is fire. Among the 5 elements, fire does something unique. Wood grows, earth stabilizes, metal defines, and water reflects. Fire reveals. When light enters a dark room, nothing new is created, yet everything becomes visible. Dust that existed all along is finally seen. Objects forgotten in corners suddenly appear. This is why 2026 is not considered an event year in the old teachings. It is considered an activation year. And an event year is when circumstances force change, a sudden move, an unexpected loss, or a clear opportunity. An activation year happens earlier. People begin changing internally before external events require them to. Thoughts shift. Priorities soften. Certain choices feel uncomfortable, even if they once felt normal. You may notice you no longer enjoy something you have done for years. You may wake earlier without setting an alarm. You may think about health, family, check or meaning more than achievement. None of these are events, yet they prepare you for events that come later. The elders compared it to hearing thunder before rain. The rain has not begun, but the air changes. Some people notice the pressure in the sky immediately. Others only notice when the rain actually falls. The Firehorse year works in this way. It stirs awareness first, action later. Why do only certain people feel it strongly? Because cycles repeat every 12 years. Each person stands at a different point in that cycle, depending on their birth animal. When the yearly energy aligns or directly opposes your own, your awareness becomes sharper. You begin sensing shifts before others recognize them. This does not mean those people are more psychic or more spiritual. It means their position in the cycle places them closer to the signal. They hear it earlier. During 2026, some individuals will suddenly reconsider long-term plans, even though nothing external has changed. A retirement date may feel wrong. A career path may feel incomplete. A relationship may feel ready for healing or closure. These thoughts do not come from fear. They come from clarity. At the same time, others around them will feel perfectly normal. They will say, "Nothing is happening." And from the outside, they will be correct. The visible world may look identical. Yet internally, certain people will feel movement beginning quietly. The horse contributes motion. The fire contributes awareness. Together, they create a year where preparation becomes natural. You may organize documents, improve health habits, reconnect with family, or simplify responsibilities. You are not reacting to crisis. You are responding to timing. This is why many people later look back at such a year and say, "I don't know why I started changing then, but I'm glad I did." The year did not force them. It invited them. The important thing to remember is that activation years rarely announce themselves loudly. They feel subtle, they feel personal, yet they occur across many lives at once. So if you feel the urge to adjust your direction even before a clear reason appears, you may simply be responding to an energy cycle beginning to move. You are not late, and you are not early. You are standing at the moment when awareness arrives before action. Now we come to the question many people are quietly waiting for. If this is a signal year, who actually hears the signal first? In every cycle, certain zodiac signs stand closer to the yearly energy than others. They do not control events, and they do not cause change, but they feel the shift earlier. Their awareness begins before circumstances make the change obvious. In 2026, 3 signs tend to notice first. The first is the horse. When the year matches your birth animal, it is called a resonance year. This does not automatically mean good or bad fortune. It means you feel life more intensely. Small details stand out. Routines that once felt comfortable may suddenly feel limiting. A horse-born person in 2026 may wake with a sense of urgency, even though nothing urgent is happening. You may feel restless in familiar places. You may want to rearrange your home, adjust your schedule, or travel even a short distance. You might not be unhappy, yet you sense that remaining exactly the same is no longer possible. Others may not understand, because from their perspective your life appears stable. But internally, you feel movement beginning. Horse individuals often describe it as preparation. They feel the need to get ready for something even if they cannot explain what. They organize paperwork, simplify responsibilities, and think seriously about the next stage of life. They are not reacting to events. They are sensing timing. So the second sign is the rat. The rat sits opposite the horse in the zodiac circle. Opposite years are awareness years. Instead of movement, they bring reflection through interaction with others. Rat-born individuals may notice changes through conversations, memories, and relationships. You may reconnect with someone unexpectedly. A small comment from a friend may affect you deeply. You may suddenly understand why a past situation unfolded the way it did. Rat individuals often feel prompted to clarify old misunderstandings or to express feelings they once kept private. This awareness is gentle but persistent. You may feel that something unfinished is asking for attention. It may not require a dramatic action. Sometimes a single conversation or a simple apology provides a sense of completion you did not know you needed. The third sign is the snake. The snake does not experience the signal through movement or through people, but through perception. Snake individuals often notice patterns before they see events. You may observe changes in your workplace, family, or personal goals that others overlook. You sense that certain directions will not continue the same way. You may begin planning quietly. You review finances, health habits, or future living arrangements long before any necessity appears. Others may think you are worrying unnecessarily. In truth, you are preparing naturally because you perceive subtle shifts in circumstances. What these 3 signs share is not luck. It is sensitivity to timing. They may not experience immediate dramatic events in 2026. In fact, their lives may look ordinary from the outside, but internally they adjust direction earlier than others. Because they adjust early, later changes feel smoother. What surprises others feels familiar to them. This does not mean the other zodiac signs are ignored. They will experience the effects later, usually when circumstances become visible. But the horse, the rat, and the snake often sense it when it is still only a quiet signal. If you belong to one of these signs, you may already feel a small inner shift. You may question long-standing plans, reconsider priorities, or feel drawn to prepare for a future you cannot yet describe. Do not rush to label it fear or worry. Often it is neither. It is awareness arriving before explanation. Some people wait for life to change and then react. Others sense the change while it is still approaching and gently adjust. The difference between the two experiences is not destiny. It is timing, and timing begins with noticing. After the signal is felt, life rarely changes in one dramatic moment. Instead, it begins rearranging quietly. Many people expect important years to bring sudden events, but more often the first signs appear as small interruptions to ordinary plans. You may notice a meeting rescheduled for no clear reason. A trip you planned may be delayed, yet the delay leads you to meet someone you did not expect to encounter. A conversation you almost did not have turns out to be meaningful. None of these seem important at first, yet they leave a lasting impression. During years like 2026, change often arrives through coincidence. You think about a person and they contact you. You consider a new idea and an opportunity appears that matches it. You take a different route one day and discover a place that feels immediately right to you. These moments are not dramatic, but they feel strangely timely. The old teachers believed life sometimes shifts direction not by force, but by alignment. Instead of pushing you onto a new path, circumstances gently guide your attention. You are not required to act immediately. You are invited to notice. For some people, this begins with relationships. A familiar conversation suddenly becomes deeper than usual. Someone shares a story that stays in your mind for days. You may reconnect with a friend after many years and realize you now understand each other differently. The connection does not return to the past. It transforms into something more peaceful. For others, the change appears through work or purpose. You may hear about a role, a project, or a skill that interests you even though you had never considered it before. Perhaps you thought you were finished learning new things, yet curiosity returns quietly. The thought remains in your mind longer than you expect. Some experience it through place. You visit a location and feel unusually comfortable. A neighborhood you once overlooked now feels welcoming. You begin imagining a different daily routine, not because your present life is bad, but because a different rhythm suddenly feels possible. None of these experiences force immediate decisions. They plant ideas. Over time, the ideas gather meaning. Many people later realize that one small moment became a turning point. A casual conversation led to a friendship that supported them later. A postponed plan prevented difficulty they never saw coming. A spontaneous visit led them to a place where they eventually felt at home. This is why the Firehorse year is described as a year of meaningful coincidence. The events themselves may appear minor, but the direction they create becomes important. Life rarely changes in a single step. It changes through a series of gentle adjustments that only appear significant when viewed together. If you are attentive, you may notice patterns forming. Similar topics appear in different conversations. The same advice reaches you from multiple sources. You encounter reminders related to one decision repeatedly. These repetitions are not commands. They are guidance asking you to consider a possibility you might otherwise overlook. It is easy to dismiss such moments as random. Yet when several occur within a short period, many people feel a quiet certainty that they should pay attention. Not because they must act immediately, but because something in their life direction is forming. So when plans shift slightly in 2026, do not assume they are disruptions. Sometimes a delay protects timing. Sometimes a chance meeting opens understanding. Sometimes a small idea prepares a large change. Life does not always announce its intentions loudly. Often it rearranges gently until the path ahead becomes clearer than the path behind. At this point, you may wonder how to know whether these changes are truly guidance or simply ordinary thoughts. The difference is subtle, but people who experience a signal year often notice certain repeating signs. One of the most common signs appears in dreams. You may dream about the same place more than once, or see the same person in different dreams across several nights. These dreams feel unusually clear. When you wake, you remember details easily, as if the mind wanted you to keep the memory rather than forget it. The dream may not predict anything. Instead, it draws your attention to something emotionally unfinished or important to your next decision. Another sign is repeated thoughts about a single choice. You may go about your daily routine and suddenly think about a change you never seriously considered before. The thought leaves, then returns days later, then again the following week. It does not feel forced. It simply remains present. Guidance often feels calm and persistent, while worry feels urgent and heavy. If the idea arrives peacefully and repeatedly, it deserves gentle consideration. You may also notice that activities you once enjoyed no longer bring the same satisfaction. You are not unhappy, yet your interest fades. At the same time, simple experiences, a quiet walk, a conversation, reading, or learning something new, feel more meaningful than before. This shift suggests your attention is moving from habit toward purpose. Encounters with people may also change. You meet someone unexpectedly who shares advice that relates directly to what you have been thinking. A stranger mentions a topic you were privately considering. You hear the same suggestion from different sources within a short time. When similar messages arrive repeatedly without planning, many people feel they are being guided to notice a possibility. Another sign is emotional clarity. A decision that once felt confusing becomes simple. You suddenly know what you prefer, even if you have not acted on it yet. The clarity is quiet. It does not come with excitement or fear. It comes with a steady sense of certainty. You may say to yourself, "I don't know why, but I think this is the right direction." Physical habits can also shift. Sleep patterns change slightly. You may wake earlier without an alarm. You may feel the need to organize your home or complete unfinished tasks. Clearing space externally often reflects preparation internally. You are making room for something before you can describe what it is. Some people feel drawn to repair connections. You think about contacting someone you avoided or thanking someone you never properly acknowledged. When you do, the conversation often brings relief rather than complication. Closure creates calm, and calm allows clearer decisions. It is important to distinguish between fear and guidance. Fear pushes quickly and demands immediate action. Guidance invites gently and allows patience. Fear creates tension in the body. Guidance creates steadiness. If you feel pressured, wait. If you feel calm curiosity, consider. You do not need to follow every thought immediately. The purpose of these signs is awareness. Once you recognize them, you can observe your life more carefully. You notice what strengthens your peace and what weakens it. Many people later look back and realize the signs were simple. Nothing dramatic happened at first. Yet because they paid attention early, later changes felt natural instead of surprising. So if 2026 brings repeated dreams, calm, persistent ideas, meaningful coincidences, or quiet clarity. You may not be imagining it. You may be recognizing guidance before it becomes obvious to others. Not everyone pays attention to a signal year. Many people continue their routines exactly as before, and for a time, nothing seems different. Yet when awareness is ignored, change does not disappear. It simply arrives later in a stronger form. When a person senses early guidance and makes small adjustments, life often shifts gently. But when the inner signal is dismissed repeatedly, circumstances sometimes take over. The change still comes, only now it feels unexpected. For example, someone may feel for months that a job no longer suits them. They think about learning a new skill, adjusting their schedule, or speaking with a supervisor, but they postpone it because nothing urgent forces action. Later, a sudden workplace change occurs. A restructuring, a transfer, or an early retirement decision, and they must adapt quickly. What could have been a gradual transition becomes a rapid one. The same can happen in relationships. A person may notice growing distance with a friend or partner. They sense conversations becoming shorter or less sincere, yet they avoid discussing it because there is no obvious conflict. Eventually, the connection weakens more noticeably, and the separation feels abrupt. The earlier signal was gentle. The later event feels sharp. Living environments also follow this pattern. Someone may feel their home no longer fits their needs. They consider simplifying possessions or planning a future move, but delay the thought because life appears stable. Later, circumstances such as health, finances, or family needs require a quicker relocation. Again, the change was not punishment. It was timing arriving after awareness was postponed. The old teachings did not describe this as fate being harsh. They described it as timing continuing forward. Life moves at its own pace whether we prepare or not. When we notice early, we move with it. When we ignore it, we are moved by it. This does not mean every feeling must lead to immediate action. It means gentle preparation can ease later transitions. Small conversations, small planning steps, and small adjustments often prevent larger disruption. Some people fear acknowledging change because they believe it will create instability. Yet often the opposite is true. Acknowledging what you already sense allows you to guide the process instead of reacting to it. Preparation does not accelerate change, it softens it. You may remember times in your past when you sensed something approaching, but dismissed the thought. Later, you recognized the signs had been clear. Signal years offer a second chance to notice earlier. The Firehorse year does not rush. It repeats the message quietly. If you listen, you have time. If you wait too long, time continues without you. So if you notice inner awareness during 2026, do not panic and do not ignore it. Simply begin paying attention. Adjust gradually. Speak honestly where needed. Organize what you can. These small responses often transform future events from sudden into understandable. Change itself is not avoidable, but the way it feels often depends on whether we recognize its arrival early or late. So how should a person respond when they realize a signal year has arrived? The old teachings never suggested fear. They suggested cooperation. When life begins to shift quietly, the wisest approach is not to resist and not to rush, but to align gently with what you already sense. The first step is to create a little stillness each day. Even a few minutes in the morning without distraction can help you recognize your own thoughts more clearly. Sit near a window, breathe slowly, and allow your mind to settle before beginning your routine. Many people discover that answers come not when they search intensely, but when they pause long enough to notice what has already appeared. Next, bring order to your surroundings. You do not need to renovate your entire home. Start small. A drawer, a shelf, a closet. As you organize, you may realize certain objects belong to a past stage of your life. Keep what carries warmth and release what carries heaviness. This is not only physical cleaning. It helps your mind accept that some chapters have completed and new ones can begin. Writing can also be helpful. Take a simple notebook and write about what you have been thinking recently. You are not writing for anyone else. You are allowing your thoughts to become visible. Often when feelings remain only in the mind, they seem confusing, but once written, they become understandable. You may notice patterns in your thoughts that point gently toward your next step. If someone comes to mind repeatedly, consider reaching out calmly. The purpose is not to reopen the past exactly as it was. It is to acknowledge it with the understanding you now have. Even a short conversation can bring peace. And if contact is not possible, quiet forgiveness within your heart can be enough. Releasing old tension creates space for new clarity. Movement is also important during this year. The horse represents motion, but motion does not require long travel. Walk in a new place, visit a park, or spend time outdoors more often. Changing scenery allows your perspective to change naturally. Many people find their thoughts settle when their body moves gently. You may also adjust your daily rhythm slightly. Wake a little earlier, begin your day without immediate noise, or spend less time in constant activity. When life slows even briefly, awareness strengthens. You begin to notice which choices bring calm and which create strain. Above all, trust gradual change. You are not required to solve everything immediately. A signal year is not demanding a final decision. It is offering preparation. By listening now, you reduce confusion later. Some people wait until life forces change and then struggle to adapt. Others sense it early and move step by step. Both reach the same destination eventually, but one path feels hurried and the other feels guided. The meaning of 2026 is not that something dramatic will happen to everyone at once. Its meaning is that awareness appears before circumstance. Those who notice early experience the coming years with greater peace. Some people wait for change to arrive. Some people feel it approaching. And the year 2026 belongs to those who notice early enough to walk forward calmly when the door finally opens.